Calder.
Age?
16.
How long have you been at Crewe?
6 months.
What position do you play?
Centre back.
Who's your role model and why?
John Stones, because I love his playing technique and how he can play various positions.
What are your strengths as a player?
Tackling and like a long ball.
And what have you got to work on?
Weak foot passing and composure.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
I love the project at the club, pushing players from the academy to the first team, and also the succession rates of getting academy players into professional footballers.
Name?
Ben Furlong.
Age?
16.
How long have you been at Crewe?
9 years.
What position do you play?
Midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Stephen Pienaar, because grew up watching Everton, so enjoyed watching him play.
What are your strengths as a player?
Speed.
And what have you got to work on?
My shooting.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
Been at the club since a young age, so I just enjoy playing.
Name?
Cal Hardy,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
4 years,
What position do you play?
midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Steven Gerrard, because he inspired me when I was growing up.
What are your strengths as a player?
Power and speed,
And what have you got to work on?
probably my tactical awareness of the game.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
I feel comfortable around the training ground and the coaches are a good influence.
Name?
Joe Collins,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
10 years,
What position do you play?
midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Gerrard, just grew up watching him and like the way he plays.
What are your strengths as a player?
Probably my techniques,
And what have you got to work on?
probably my physicality.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
Just been at the club for ages and it's always what I wanted to do.
Name?
Jordan Ellis Hodkin,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
about 6 months,
What position do you play?
striker.
Who's your role model and why?
I'd probably say Ander Herrera, because I'm a big Man United fan, and he shows a lot of passion when he plays.
What are your strengths as a player?
Shooting,
And what have you got to work on?
probably my weak foot or longer range passing,
And why have you signed for Crewe?
because I think that this is a great club for me to improve as a player, on and off the pitch.
Name?
Josh Ashe,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
6 months,
Position?
midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Luca Modric, I feel like his longevity in the game is quite good and he has a good awareness of the space around him.
And what are your strengths as a player?
He'll be running with the ball and speed,
And what have you got to work on?
passing range and strength.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
They play good football and it allows me to develop as a player into what I want to be, and they have good players in the first team which I can strive to get to.
Name?
Mickeylanichuk,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
10 years,
What position do you play?
goalkeeper.
Who's your role model and why?
Casillas, because he's the same height as me.
What are your strengths?
Distribution,
What have you got to work on?
physicality.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
Been there a long time, so comfortable for all coaches.
Name?
Oliver Armstrong,
Age?
16.
How long have you been at Crewe?
I was here when I was 4 and then till 12 and then, no, 4 till 8 and then I left and then 12 till now 16, so
Long enough.
yeah.
Position?
Midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Paul Scholes, because I support United and he's probably one of the best midfielders and like his passing and that, so.
What are your strengths as a player?
Probably dribbling, like my main strength, yeah.
And what have you got to work on?
Like the final bit, like scoring more goals and more assists and that.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
Like the coaches, it's like close to me, and I just like it. Like it's just like the club. So.
Name?
Seb Drummond,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
about a year,
What position do you play?
centre back.
Who's your role model and why?
Trent, because I like his passing and I think he's hard working.
What are your strengths as a player?
Probably passing as well.
And what have you got to work on?
Weak foot,
And why have you signed for Crewe?
because I like my teammates and I think the coaches are good and it's a good club.
Name?
Stan Dancey,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
6 years.
What position do you play?
Defender.
Who's your role model and why?
Probably Seamus Coleman because supported Everton whole life, so he's captain.
What are your strengths as a player?
Probably my techniques.
And what have you got to work on?
Shooting.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
I know they've got a good academy and that, and play good footy.
Will Perry,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
about 10 years.
What position do you play?
Centre mid.
Who's your role model and why?
Charlie Kirk, Crewe legend.
What are your strengths as a player?
Probably my techniques,
And what have you got to work on?
my strength.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
Boyard club.
Name?
Xavier Smith,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
8 years,
What position do you play?
full-back.
Who's your role model and why?
Alexander Arnold, because I just like how technically gifted he is.
What are your strengths as a player?
I'll say I'm a technical player who likes to deliver the ball into the box.
And what have you got to work on?
My physicality.
And why have you signed for Crewe?
I've been here for a long time and I've got a good relationship with all the coaches and my teammates.
Name?
Luca Moore,
Age?
16,
How long have you been at Crewe?
2 weeks,
Position?
centre midfield.
Who's your role model and why?
Frank Lampard, because he gets forward and scores goals.
What are your strengths in your game?
Probably running with the ball and passing.
And what have you got to work on?
My weak foot,
And why have you signed for Crewe?
because the opportunities are really good here.